What up, everyone? Welcome into my YouTube live stream. It's Jack Stern. I'm going to be talking about the Major League Baseball 2023 World Series today. I'm not going to bore you with the specifics or anything like that. I'm just going to jump right into it, and I'm going to tell you why I believe that the Texas Rangers are a much better team than the Arizona Diamondbacks. It actually is a pretty simple and easy explanation. I'll get into it as we go along in this live stream. But what it ultimately comes down to, the Rangers' bottom third of the order is going to outperform the last three guys in the Diamondbacks order. Arizona is not going to get enough production from their lineup 1 through 9, and that's why Texas is going to win. It's not necessarily going to come down to the starting pitching or Arizona having the upper hand in the bullpen, which they certainly do, as we learned in their last series where they won the NLCS over the Philadelphia Phillies. But listen, Arizona's been a really nice story. They made it all the way to the World Series despite winning only 84 games. They're looking to become the first team to have a very low win total to win it all since the St. Louis Cardinals did so in 2006. Remember, they had 83 wins when they won that World Series. But Texas is just a deeper roster. We all know about what Adolis Garcia's done, 7 home runs and 20 RBIs. Marcus Semien and Corey Seager are absolute thumpers at the top of that Texas lineup. But when you look at the guys as you start to move down a little bit further, obviously Evan Carter's had a really nice run in the playoffs, but I'm talking more so about Jonah Heim, who still hasn't reached his ceiling offensively yet. I think he's going to have a couple really big hits in the World Series, and also a table setter out of the 9-hole in Leonis Taveras. I just don't really see a way that Arizona is going to be able to slow this team down. Now, one might argue with me, they did a pretty good job with the Phillies lineup. They allowed just 2 runs in Game 7. The bullpen was solid. They got a lot of strikeouts. All of those things are true. But at the same time, I think Texas has a much more meticulous approach. The problem with the Phillies in that series is that they came up trying to hit the ball 500 feet to the next state over. I'm not even talking about the next county. I think Texas is really good in the sense that they can wear a pitcher down, take advantage of their mistakes when they have a power hitter at the plate. But aside from that, they have a lot of people who are really good at putting the bat on the ball. It's not just the players that I just mentioned in Taveras and Jonah Heim either. It's also a guy like Josh Jung, who's had an outstanding rookie season there in Texas. Really good hitter, solid approach, and it's just going to come down to who's going to score the most runs. Obviously, that's the way baseball works, but Texas has the ability to outscore someone even when their pitching is not doing a great job. I don't really envision this being a series full of games that are having a final score of 10-8, 10-7, 11-9, or something like that. No, I'm seeing a lot of 5-3 type ball games, maybe 8-6, 7-5, scores that are kind of in that ballpark range. But Texas, to me, clearly has the better roster. And this is where the problem with the new Major League Baseball playoff format comes in. Yeah, I think the best team won in the American League. Texas was probably a little bit better than Houston at the end of the day. But in the National League, the Rangers are not going to have to face a team that's that much better than them on paper. And that's a big problem. Had Texas had to face the Dodgers or even the Atlanta Braves, it would be a lot tougher to hold and contain that team and hang with them for 9 innings, considering how talented they are. But unfortunately, neither of those lineups were really able to get going. And now, ironically enough, they're playing a team that's very comparable to them, but clearly inferior. I don't see how Zach Gallen, Brandon Pfaadt, as good as Pfaadt's been throughout the playoffs, are going to be able to match up dollar for dollar, pound for pound with the likes of Nathan Eovaldi and Jordan Montgomery. The starting rotation, you obviously need to give the advantage to Texas because they just have a much deeper, just like the lineup, they have a much deeper rotation. Where I think Arizona kind of has the upper hand, if they're able to work the counts on those 2 players and they're able to get into that bullpen, and if they're able to get to Max Scherzer, because I think we're all assuming that Max Scherzer is going to be on the mound at some point in the series, maybe not as a starter, maybe he makes a relief appearance, but he's clearly very vulnerable, and to me right now, he is the weak link of that rotation. So if Arizona is able to hit well against Scherzer, take advantage of his mistakes, and then kind of contain that very potent Texas lineup, then they're going to have a good chance of winning. But unfortunately, the matchup advantage really goes to the Rangers in all 3 areas. And I'm talking about starting pitching, bullpen, offense. And then if you want to add a fourth category, we could do that as well. And I'm talking about defense because they're really nice in the field. The strategy for Texas here is that they're going to be pitching around Ketel Marte. They're not going to be giving Corbin Carroll very many good pitches to hit, and they're going to take their chances with that bottom half of the order. The one player on Arizona who I think can really turn their fate around if everything goes according to plan, and he's done this before. We saw him back in the 2008 postseason. Now he's getting a chance to play in the World Series again 15 years later. I'm talking about Evan Longoria. Still has power and pop in that bat. Really good hitter. Just hasn't found it in the postseason yet. Hitting 137, not really making that much of an impact. Still solid defensively at third base, but that's not going to ooh or ah anyone or give Arizona the upper hand, not by any stretch of the imagination. So it's going to come down to Longoria popping a long ball, getting a clutch hit, doing something like that. Because otherwise, Texas is just going to keep exposing that soft spot at the bottom of Arizona's order. Now, Geraldo Perdomo has had some nice games for Arizona, but he's not someone I can depend on and rely upon. Jonah Heim, Taveras, Josh Jung, they've shown they are capable of carrying Texas's lineup when they're hot. Even when the players at the top of the lineup are really struggling, even when Simeon's cold, even when Corey Seager is not seeing the ball as well, or Adolis Garcia is not hitting with the same level of power, Texas's lineup has the ability to pick each other up. Does Arizona have that? I don't believe so, and it becomes really hard to win a World Series when you don't get that type of production. Every single year we talk about the unsung heroes in the postseason, and I don't think this World Series is going to be any different. Someone's going to step up that we're not talking about right now, and that's just going to be the way it is. Whoever that person is could help their team ultimately win the World Series. Texas has a much better chance of having Josh Jung break out than Arizona does with Perdomo or Evan Longoria. That is why Texas is the superior squad. They have the better roster, despite finishing second place to Houston in a very, very tough American League West. They still seem like the type of team that could beat them in a head-to-head series, and they didn't blink. That's why they were able to come through in the end in that series as well. They were down. They built a nice 2-0 advantage. They lost 3 straight games to Houston, and everyone's saying, oh, the Astros are a shoo-in for the World Series. They're most definitely going to win it again. Not so fast. Both teams share that similarity as well, that they were facing elimination. They had to win 2 straight games in order to win their respective series. Yet somehow they found a way to do so. And it's much more impressive for both squads that they did so on the road. Battling through adversity does not bother the Texas Rangers, nor does it bother the Arizona Diamondbacks. But ultimately, your will and your want is going to get outlasted by talent in the game of baseball, right? Hitting a 100-mile-per-hour fastball is not something that's easy to do. And Texas ultimately has more guys that are going to do that. Also, when you compare Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll to Garcia, Seager, and Simeon, you have to believe that although Garcia is probably not going to be as hot as he was during the NLCS, he still has that capability in him. Even if he doesn't hit 5 home runs, he's still going to be getting on base. He's still going to be knocking in runs. He's still going to be doing it. So when you look at the lineups, it's clear that Texas has a massive, massive advantage there, unless Arizona is really, really good and they somehow get hot. The fun part about baseball and the fun part about the World Series specifically, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to get cold. There might be a ball that bounces a weird way or an error that dictates things. But ultimately, it's clear to me that the Texas Rangers have a massive advantage, and there's no reason that they shouldn't win this year. Give me the Rangers in 6.